Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about drafts that never end. So for example, a league has roster limits and for whatever reason a team is at that roster limit but they still have slots left to draft in the draft board. And so there's no way to make a pick at that in that round. And so that draft is going to keep running thinking that that team needs to make a pick, but they can't. And so it's running perpetually. How do we stop this? How do we make this draft finally come to an end? In this example here, we have a league that a team, Self-Awareness, made a trade and got 2 picks in the 7th round. Because they have 2 picks in the 7th round, they reach their roster limit at the end of the 15th round, even though it's a 16-round draft. So you can see here, in the 16th round, the draft board thinks, well, Self-Awareness still needs to make a pick when they can't. They're at the roster limit. So what will happen here is this draft slot will stay open forever. The clock will count down to 0, and when it does, it'll just say, oh, this team's back up again, and the clock will reset, and it'll keep running. So how does the commissioner stop this? The easiest way to do this is to just go to the draft board and skip this position. So I'll show you here. If I bring up their league, and I have the draft board here in front of me. If I scroll down, again, I have to be commissioner, and again, here's the all-important modify button that we talk about in other videos in the draft board. And click the modify button. You see it shows me the 16th round, and there's Self-Awareness, and it's saying it's got the 16.7th pick. All I have to do, over here, is say skip this draft position. I click it, it's now skipped. I can close out this window. When I go back into the draft board, the pick is skipped and the draft is now done, complete. That's simple. Just skip the pick for any spots that are open and the draft will be done. So that's one example. So let me show you a separate example here of a draft that is completely short by 2 rounds. So in this case, this league just miscalculated or just had the wrong number of rounds. They wanted to be a 12-round draft. Instead, they put in 14 rounds for whatever reason. Maybe everybody had 2 keepers and they forgot to forfeit the picks, which I described in another video. But for whatever reason, these 2 whole rounds are left open. And they'll keep repeating over and over again because they're at a 12-man roster limit. In this case, you can skip all these picks just like the other one, but it's a little bit more complex. You have to go through, 9 picks for 2 rounds. And really all you want to do is shorten this draft by 2 rounds. So the easier thing to do in this case is to go to the, go in as commissioner. Here's my league. As commissioner, go to manage league. And here I can change the draft settings for this league. In this case, if I click on draft settings, it shows me a synopsis of what I had set before. If you notice, it said it was 14 rounds. Well, all I want to do is make it 12 rounds. So I can edit the settings for this draft. Wait for this page to come up. A little slow there, but it came up. Okay, and all I want to do, I don't want to touch anything else. The only thing I care about is this right here. I want to make it 12 rounds and not 14. Now, when I do this, I still have to set the start time to sometime in the future because the draft needs to reset from the beginning of the draft. Now, it's not going to blow away the draft, but it needs to just restart so that it can recognize the less number of rounds. And in this case, it'll just end the draft. So at this point, I'm going to set the draft for, let's see what time it is. September 2nd at 1 we'll say 1:21 a.m. Eastern time. That's all I did. Change the start time, change the number of rounds, resubmit the rules, and now I can go back to my draft board for this league. And you'll see, voila, my draft is now 12 rounds. It's cut off. It's done. The draft is complete. Don't have to do anything else. So in this case, I just shortened it by 2 rounds. Now it's important to note, do not do this if you have picks in the rounds you're deleting. Then you're going to remove the record of those picks from those rounds. You want to make sure every round that you shorten it by has no picks in it. So either A, you can just skip the picks of the ones that are never going to be picked, or you can just shorten the whole draft by whatever rounds if all the rounds have no picks in them. So that's how you do it. If you have any questions, give us a call, 636-447-1170.